You know, I'll say this simply first, but since you all know by now that I rarely answer a question with a one-liner, I'll probably move on as other thoughts come. But that's the joy of these Q&As, really. I want to say that because Sister Gyanamata said that, if for no other reason, if nothing else came to me, I would say no. There's never a situation where the circumstances need to change. Now that's a pretty harsh statement, isn't it? When we can conjure up images of birth defects, of war, of torture, of sexual harassment, of cancers and death of somebody's precious 3-year-old child or a precious partner or an animal that they loved. We could just think of all those things that are wrenching to our hearts. But here is the truth, and we all know it, and I've been speaking to it all day, but it's always the truth. It's always the truth. And this is why that statement that we say every single Sunday, listen to it. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. Now that is a call for us to do everything we can do to be with God. That's the realize oneness with it. But truth that manifests in so many ways in our lives and around us, that's what we're trying to recognize at all times. And the reason why this has to be true, that circumstances should never change, is the most basic truth of our path, Dwapara Yuga, exactly why Master incarnated and then came to the West, was to show us that everything about superconsciousness, so we know that path that it follows to manifestation, that great source of pure divine energy had a thought, and behind that thought, that energy comes that is then made manifest into every single thing in the universe, every rock, every molecule of water, every crystal that we love and cherish, every being, everything, but not just things. Our thoughts, our very thoughts are energy, pure energy, vibrating. And what happens? So we cannot get away from energy. We are energy. That is the way that Swamiji opens his chapter on energy in Raja Yoga. You are energy, capitalized A-R-E. That's what he says. You are energy. And energy cannot exist without being magnetic. It's impossible until we realize oneness with it in our deathless selves within. In that super conscious state, the magnetism is perfect, centered, unitive, divinely loving, pure peace, pure contentment, pure spiritual power, perfect thought. You see, otherwise, until we're one with God, we are magnetism. It's what we are. And that magnetism, however, each and every soul that's just a piece of that total super consciousness made manifest. We each have our own perfectly special little piece of that. And we have lifetime after lifetime after lifetime laid down patterns. And those patterns are strong magnets sitting in our astral spine. And we will draw to ourselves inexorably, unquestionably, irrevocably, exactly what we need to neutralize that energy and allow it to rise and be free. It's perfected in God. And it's all perfected in God, not just the good stuff. No. Wow, I can't call this quote, so in 2 weeks I'm going to bring it into my class on courage. I so wish I had it with me right now. But Master says, the soul, I don't want to get it wrong. Let me go away from there. But I'll say it in my words and different than what Master said to some degree, because, of course, he said it perfectly. Whether it's a good experience or a difficult experience, the soul doesn't care. They're both aspects of duality. And the soul is only trying to get us into that place of oneness with God. So it doesn't, there's no difference to it. That's what I want to say. The soul doesn't suffer anymore if we're having a sublime experience with a beautiful meal or with a lover or with our spiritual teacher having a beautiful moment that the mind's recognizing, or whether we're suffering with any of those things I mentioned to begin with. The soul is saying, we need that to bring you back into perfect oneness with me. And our own, this magnet that we are as we move through life, we're drawing it. Nobody else could draw that same experience. Even if two people are fighting with their partner, it's different in the way each of those two souls needed it. Everything is unique to that soul. It's us that needs to change. And where do we need to change? Within our attitude towards it. That's all that needs to change, no matter whether it's horrific or it's perfect. So if you're suffering, if you're two sisters suffering in a concentration camp, and one of you can see God's beauty there, and one of you can't, all that needs to shift is the attitude. The situation is exactly the same. And when we read that book, The Hiding Place, that's what we see. And the one who saw God's beauty in everything is the one who left her body in the concentration camp. But she was the one who, when everybody was being eaten by, what were the bugs that were in the concentration camp? Fleas. Being eaten up by fleas, being tortured by fleas that had made their home in the straw that these people needed to sleep on. And she said, don't get rid of the fleas. And the way that they were eating things and leaving horrific smells behind, sores in people's body being made by the fleas. And somebody said to her, do you even love divinely loving the fleas? And she said, oh, of course. And then right after that teaching came out, the next day when the guards came to the door and were getting in to come and take these people to their death for whatever reason, I don't remember, they started to walk in and say, it stinks in here, and they wouldn't come in. And everybody had to feel grateful to the fleas. It's never ending. Change us, not the situation. In every situation, if we could be there, watching the most, now we are what we are in the world, so there's nothing private anymore. Every scene of every bit of suffering is broadcast. And if we want to look at it on the news, we can. Or on our devices, anywhere, all over, we can. But those people who are in those situations, and God knows we would love to help them out of it. I pray every day for people in need. I donate money whenever I can. I donate clothing, food, whatever I can do to help people. But while they're there, if they can find God, they'll make spiritual progress. And if they can't, they won't. The circumstance does not need to change. Circumstances are neither good nor bad, but thinking makes it so. That's what Master said. Contemplate that. Think about that. That's a pretty remarkable statement in every single situation of our lives. Every argument with our spouse, every issue with our family, every moment that we can't get what we think we want, we have to tell ourselves, look at this perfect opportunity for spiritual growth. It would not have come to me otherwise. And then don't for a minute let Satan in. No. I'm going to remember this. We're energy. Energy can always be transformed. That's why the first law of thermodynamics came to somebody. It was a great law in terms of this physical reality, but it came to them because it's a spiritual truth that had to be manifested into the world for people to grasp it. Our job now, as we've reversed our direction, we're not living of this world. We're in it, we're not of it. So we take even those physical laws of the universe and we turn them into spiritual knowing because they couldn't have come from any other place. Energy can always be transformed. That's remarkable. That is such a gift from God when we hold it in the right way. We are not really stuck anywhere. Imagine that. No relationship, no situation. It can always be transformed. It's remarkable. And it's truth. It's great that we know that water goes to steam or to ice, and it's the same, but for a little transformation. It's remarkable that we know that you can put coal into a fire, and eventually it could become a diamond. That's great. Many great things about transformation. But the greatest thing of all is that every bit of energy that's in our life right now is in perfect form to take us to God. Now that's something to meditate on.